Good evening. A couple of announcements. One, I want to remind everybody that next Monday, July 28th, from 4:30 to 7 o'clock at the Masonic Temple, there's going to be a special event, which includes free appetizers and a cash bar. But the main item of interest there is going to be the drops. The drops are going to be taken down after Monday and put in storage until such time as we're ready to, that the rigging and everything else has been improved and we're able to put them back up. And this might be the last time for, this will be the last time for quite a while for the people of Winona to see these drops. And if you haven't seen them, this is definitely the time to see them. There's going to be a series of different drops on the half hour showing, and they are wonderful. So I would encourage people to come. It's from 4:30 to 7 o'clock. Bring a camera, and there'll be people there to answer questions. Also, I'd like to read a proclamation for John Latch Week, which we'll declare here tonight. Whereas over a century ago, a quiet businessman who loved to canoe the backwaters of the Mississippi River pulled his canoe onto the banks of the Mississippi to escape a summer rainstorm, was abruptly removed from that private property, and whereas this man, John A. Latch, loaded his canoe and headed back to Winona with stunning disappointment and an idea that would forever transform the riverbanks of the upper Mississippi River and parkland throughout our area. And whereas John A. Latch purchased the riverbank land he was once asked to leave, along with thousands of other acres of property in Minnesota and Wisconsin, deeding them to the state and city for public use, so everyone could use and enjoy the beauty and nature he so treasured. And whereas John A. Latch's vision and perseverance led to the collaboration with other wealthy and influential colleagues to lobby Congress to establish the Federal Wildlife and Fish Refuge Act, that today has evolved to protect thousands of acres of wetland and public park areas throughout the city of Winona and surrounding Mississippi River Valley. And whereas today we pay tribute to John A. Latch for his vision and generosity to our city, its citizens, and to the visitors for years to come. Now therefore I, Mayor Mark Peterson, do hereby proclaim July 21 to 26, 2014 as John Latch Week in the city of Winona, Minnesota. And I'd like to encourage everybody to participate this week, starting, well, the next 2 days they're sold out, but there's some riverboat tour and lectures on the Cal Fremling. Thursday night, there's going to be a lecture at the History Center on John Latch at 7 o'clock. It's free and open to the public. And on Saturday, the Farmers Market is participating, and at 1 o'clock when the market closes, we're going to have a photograph taken in Levy Park. The photo over there, I think, shows John Latch well in his signature bow tie. We're all participating tonight with our own bow ties as a testament to John Latch. And 1 o'clock on Saturday, anybody that has a bow tie, come on down, participate, and you have a chance to win a free Winona canoe, courtesy of Winona Canoe. So I hope somebody will leave that day with a nice new canoe. And there's some other activities, including kayaking and canoeing around Latch Island that afternoon, and some games on Latch Beach. So come over and participate and be a part of this, and think about John Latch and his gifts to our city. And just one final announcement. I was recently just notified that we have a new National Register building in the city of Winona, and that's the Laird Norton building, probably better known more recently as the UBC building at 5th and Johnson Street. And that was just recently approved by the Department of the Interior as a National Register property. And with that, I'll ask the city manager if she has any comments.
Mayor and council and the public, I just want to make a friendly reminder to everyone that signs, political signs, real estate signs, business signs cannot be placed in the public right-of-way. So please keep those signs back behind the sidewalks. That's a safe place for it. Then it won't be in the public right-of-way. If we do find the signs there, we will start removing them, and you'll have to come down and pick them up if you want them back. So please make sure that the signs are not in the public right-of-way. Thank you.
That's it. Roll call.
Mayor Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Thurley.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Alexander. Here. Iden. Here. Borzakowski.
Here.
Double.
Here.
In the petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1 is the reappointments to the Heritage Preservation Commission. And there's a correction, it should only be the two, Mary Edelbeyer and Lynn Eglund.
Move to approve those two appointments.
Second.
Motion by George, seconded by Michelle. Any comment or any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 3.2, reappointments to the Recreational Waterways Commission of Nadine Cans.
Move to approve that appointment.
Second.
Motion
Reappointment.
by Al, seconded by Jerry. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.3, reappointments to the Joint Airport Zoning Board of Al Thurley and George Borzakowski.
Move to approve.
I guess I'd second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.4 is a request by Mike Mateka to close Chatfield Street for a block party on August 23rd.
Move to approve that, I was gonna say appointment, but closure.
Second.
Motion by George, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 3.5, request to close Center Street by Cathedral of the Sacred Heart for their event on Saturday, September 27th.
I'd move to approve that request.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Jerry. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 3.6, request to close Grand Street for their 25th annual block party on Saturday, September 6th.
Move to approve the request.
Second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion?
Just a comment, in our packet, it says this is the, or will be the 25th annual block party. I think that was probably the first block party that our community has had. I'm not sure, I don't have the records, but it's certainly been around for a long time. And as they said in the material, it's done a world of good as far as getting neighbors to talk to each other and know each other.
All right. We'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 3.7, alley dedication request between Gilmore and Mark Street and Cummings and Francis.
I would so move to, direct staff to prepare legal documents to dedicate the alley.
Second. Motion by George, seconded by Paul. Questions? Michelle, you had your hand up first, I think.
I'm not actually in favor of this. I think the cost outweighs the benefit. Unless the homeowners want to take on some of the costs themselves, we're really talking about a piece of land that's not contiguous to other city property. And I don't see the benefit to the community as a whole. So I think I would not be in favor of this. I'm not sure that what I've read here, I mean, if they want to have us take over the lot without putting in the storm sewer, that's one thing. But I'm looking at the cost and I just don't see how that is a benefit to the community. So I would be against this.
And Al, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess just the logistics of running the storm sewer, because it's in the middle of the block. And, they want to run the storm sewer to Gilmore Avenue, I believe, so I guess I really don't know where the storm sewer that they're proposing would run, and I'm not sure of, I guess I haven't heard, or maybe anybody else on council has heard about the significant issues in this block as far as ice and water and things like that. I drove the alley today, and I can see where some of the garages in back slope lower than the alley. But I'm in agreement with Councilperson Alexander that I really don't see the need for this. And I guess I would like to reconsider it at some point, perhaps with a better justification of spending the city's money to do it.
Well, am I correct in assuming that this red line, which is are the properties that we're discussing, the property on each side of that remains private? Or is that public? Any of this public?
Yes, the alley, attached to this one, the alley on what I would call is the west side is public alley. The alley to the east side of the red line is not until you get way down to the end of the block, where again, there's a small section of public alley. So the middle is not public, just the two ends are public. But
How
this would-
unusual is that?
This is really unusual. Yeah, it is, I mean, there are garages that go back onto this non-alley that use it for access now. But it is in rough condition, and it has been an ongoing issue with stormwater and ice buildup in the past. And the only way to really solve it would be to run the storm sewer to, like you said, to Gilmore Avenue,
Where would you do that, though? In the middle?
through the yard.
Through somebody's yard?
And one of these easements that they've offered to grant to us would be through the yard. We can't go to the end of the alley.
Right, that
because
would
there's
be,
nothing there.
yeah. Francis or Cummings, right.
We have had issues before in alleys where it has not been fixed or addressed, but you know, this one does have an option of running it to Gilmore.
Can the property owners be assessed for those improvements?
They certainly could, if the council chose to do that.
I mean, would that be the usual, that they would be assessed or not?
That's not occurred a lot in Winona. That occurs a lot in a lot of cities where it is done on a regular basis. It is always an option. We have not done assessments for this kind of thing in the past, in the recent past, but it certainly is fully legal to do it.
Another question, George?
My reason for bringing this up is just to get it for discussion on the table, to find out what council feels, you know. Would we need more information as far as a little more in depth as far as, and bring this back at another time, or?
You'd have to direct me with what else you want.
You
As
know.
far as I know, we've been looking at this for quite some time, and it is a mixed bag whether you fix it or not. It really is, but it is fixable with the storm sewer.
What is Public Works, put you on the spot, what is Public Works feelings on this?
It's a mixed feelings on it. I mean, there's a lot of alley there which has been serving as a public alley for quite a while, but is really not getting maintained very well. It is accessing these garages. If there were no garages on it, I think it'd be done deal, don't do it. But there's a lot, it's been serving as an alley, perhaps we ought to treat it that way.
Michelle?
But I'm correct that not all of our alleys have storm sewers on them, correct? We don't provide that service to most alleyways.
You're-
So this would be a special circumstance where we would choose to provide it here, correct?
Absolutely correct. There are one or two alleys in town that have storm sewer.
Yeah.
Very few have that. Typically, we don't guarantee that they're going to drain at all.
Right.
And it may just be going into the backyards. Absolutely.
Al?
Well, I know we've done that in the past, in the fairly recent past, I think, we've installed a storm sewer. But that was more, I think, toward the end of the street or the block, so it would drain more into that.
And that was water issues, it wasn't just
Right.
hitting garages, but it was also into yards and almost in
Right.
the basement, so that was a
Right.
really bad.
And my question would be, you know, assuming the plan, I mean, would this whole alley drain, then would it have to be regraded so it would drain to the storm basin that you'd install? Because that's a fairly long alley, and right now it's basically kind of patchwork and overlay. You know, it's not really a formal street or anything like that. It's basically allowed to drain, you know, toward the side of the road.
You would have to regrade a portion of it. A large portion of it we could not because it's still on private.
And then that would be part of the 25,000 estimate to do that?
Yes. Yep. The ideal world is if the whole alley was dedicated and became an alley, but there's a lot of homes that would have to
Right.
go through that.
Michelle?
I guess my personal perspective on alleys is, we have so many streets that need work. I wouldn't want to take on an alley when we're trying to catch up on our street repair, and we have pothole issues right now because of the high water, and this just seems ill-timed to me. And I understand their problem. It looks to me like the garages got built a little too close, and now there's all this concrete and nowhere for the drainage to go. I get the problem, but for me, it's just ill-timed. I just think our focus needs to be on the roads that the majority of our community uses and not on an alleyway that, from my perspective here, looks like it's gonna benefit 4 homes, unless they're willing to pay the assessments on it, so that the benefiting properties do pay for the improvement itself. But I'd still rather not take on more alleys. That's just my personal feeling about alleys.
We certainly, if the council chose, could approach them as far as doing an assessment project. That would be council direction.
I too, like George, or was it Al, said they drove the alley today, and guess I'd be more comfortable if there was some assessment involved in this one, my opinion.
This be appropriate to move to table this to a future meeting?
Is there a second to table it?
I'll second it.
Then we'll vote. All those in favor of tabling it, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 3.8 is a request to present the passenger rail update. Former Mayor Miller is here, representing the Minnesota High-Speed Rail Commission.
Whenever you're ready, Jerry.
Sorry about that. Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to discuss railroad issues tonight. Early in the Obama administration, about $8 billion was allocated for high-speed rail. And at that very table, shortly after that, there was a meeting held with all the mayors along the line in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and it was very well attended. Also, at that time, Ramsey County was working on the Union Depot up there. So it was kind of a good match because it was important for Ramsey County to have the Empire Builder and Amtrak come into the depot. And the people who represented cities along the line saw the importance of this direct connection with Chicago. Probably the only direct connection we have. The interstate passes us by. The airplanes fly overhead. So if you don't want to drive, the best direct connection with us is with Amtrak. So during that time, the Union Depot was established. It's up and running today. They're still doing things. And then the river route, the picture there, the river route was selected as by MnDOT and the Federal Rail Administration as the preferred route. And that's what our commission was really working to do. And right now, the next step is the environmental study, which is going on now, and that should be completed next year. Now, there's another idea, well, two other ideas. One other idea was a second train a day now. Right now, when Amtrak comes from the west, it usually gets hung up because of the oil fields, everything else going out there, and that's why it's not reliable. We feel that if there was one train a day coming from Chicago to the Twin Cities and one train a day from the Twin Cities to Chicago, it would be more reliable because you wouldn't have the hang-up over there. And we see that as an advantage to kind of get the ball rolling on the higher speed. When they're talking higher speed on this route, they're talking about 90 to 110 miles an hour, about an average of 95 miles an hour once that is fixed up and ready to go. Advantages for Winona, I think it opens up a lot of business advantages, a lot of tourism advantages. We could market Chicago direct. We could also market St. Paul direct. And I think that with all that we have going on here, it would be a big plus for us all the way around. Now there's another idea, and this is something that we've been working on. Winona, Rochester. Okay, the old DME line, which is now the CP line, goes from Winona through Rochester to Owatonna, and I think all the way to Mankato possibly. We're looking, we've already met, Mayor Spitzer and I met with people on their county commissioner and the person who's working for Mayo on their rail issues. We do support the zip line. If you're not familiar with the zip line goes from Chicago to the Twin Cities. Hopefully it would end up at the Union Depot.
So Rochester to the Twin Cities?
Right, Rochester direct to, and that would be a fairly fast train, and from what I'm gathering, the reason for that is that Rochester needs that because over the next 5 to 6 years, they're gonna need another 25 to 30,000 employees. That's what they're projecting. Well, where are those employees gonna come from? They're gonna come from the metro area. So not only is it patients from the metro area, but I think they're very, very concerned about getting those employees from the metro area to Rochester in a convenient way, in a quick way where they're not all driving. Also, I was told that Mayo gets a lot of their employees west of Rochester, out of the Owatonna area, the Dodge Center area, the Waseca area. So when you look at that Winona, Rochester going west, Winona could become a hub for the Chicago people coming up, or the St. Paul, Minneapolis people coming down for things here in Winona, but we could also become a hub for the Chicago people that come up and want to go to Mayo. And then Mayo becomes the hub after that for employees and passengers coming in to Rochester, either to work or to go to the clinic. So that's kind of an idea. It's out there. We're going to be in contact with Representative Walls. We're going to be, the MnDOT is, the Rochester people are going to handle MnDOT. I'll let them handle that. They have them right there. So that's kind of where rail is today, and the city of Winona and Winona County have been involved in this from its onset. I think we contribute somewhere, $4,000 to $5,000, and I believe the county also contributes that much to be members of the Minnesota High-Speed Rail Commission. Some people might not agree, but I think that it's important for Winona to keep their oar in the water on this, and to make sure that we have representation, that whatever happens in the next 5 to 10 years, that Winona is part of that. Because as I said before, if you look at it from the businesses, you'd be, I think even on that second train a day from Winona to Chicago would be about 4.5 hours from downtown to downtown. The only direct access we have for people coming to Chicago, direct to Winona. They get off 2-3 blocks from the downtown. It's up to us to take advantage of it if it happens, but at least that would be something that I feel would be important. Michelle, Michelle's on that committee. Do you have anything you want to add?
I would just say that I'm really hopeful for the high-speed rail, but I feel like the second Amtrak stop is really going to benefit our community. I mean, we're the second largest border and a lighter in the state. We have almost 27,000 people getting on and off every year, which is about the population of our community. And we're really the vital connection between St. Paul and Chicago. And we need to be on board with that. There are some things we have to do to comply, but Amtrak just finished their, I think it took them 2 years when it was supposed to take a year, but they finished a study looking at a second line or stop that would go from Minneapolis to Chicago, and we're waiting to get that report in. They've submitted it to MnDOT, which will talk about what we need to do and what kind of ridership they expect. And I think any connection we can benefit from with Rochester, of course. Why would we not take advantage of that? We're a southeastern Minnesota part of the state, and what happens in any of our surrounding community can benefit us. I do know that as a realtor, a lot of people come in from Chicago looking for homes to live in Winona because they like the opportunities, the culture, but they want to have easy access to Rochester's Mayo Clinic.
Right.
And really, this would give them the perfect opportunity in their retirement age to get safely to and from the clinic without having to worry about driving. And so obviously, I think that connection is a benefit too. But I think if we could get that second Amtrak line, I think that would be a fantastic opportunity for just people who want to take a day trip or an overnight trip to St. Paul. It'd be pretty great.
Plus, that would be more reliable.
Yes.
You wouldn't have the things out east. And not only do we want the seniors and the older people, we want the young people too. We got plenty to do here in Winona for young people too. So with that, thank you very much.
Sure,
and
I
I
have a
appreciate
question.
your time.
This is
Yep.
exciting stuff, but do you have any idea what the speeds might be on the Winona to Rochester connection?
That's just all in the initial stages. I know Mayor Spitzer would want to stop in St. Charles, which makes sense, because a lot of people in St. Charles work at Mayo. This train, by the way, it lets you off 2 blocks from Mayo, right down the block. As far as speed, I think there'd have to be some work done on that line in order to I think if you could keep it to a half hour, I think would be good. But there is a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of things, I don't want to get carried away here, but there's a lot of things in the way, too. The way freight is today, it's getting more and more. We see it here in Winona with the oil and with the crops and the corn and everything. So there's competition, for the rail use, but this higher speed rail thing does put in more infrastructure for the passenger rail and for the freight rail. So hopefully it would be set up in a way so that they can both run together. But that's an issue that is going to have to be addressed. Al?
What are you hearing, or what is the high-speed rail group hearing about Canadian Pacific replacing or adding to their current rail line simply because, years ago, the previous owner went down to one rail and some side tracks.
Right.
Now I've heard that they're going to put both rails back in.
That's what I heard too, but I think all that's, as far as the passenger part, that's in the environmental stage now where they're looking at what can you do and what you can't do. There's some track along the way that would have to be straightened out if you want to maintain the speed that they want to get up to. So, there's a lot of variables in there, but like I said before, I think it's important that Winona keeps the oar in the water. Just kind of reflecting on John Latch a little bit. I think that there's opportunity up there for us, but we have to take advantage of the opportunity. Thank you. All right. Yep.
One more question.
My wife's got dinner on.
At one time, there was some consideration of using the median on the interstate to run to Rochester. Is that still in consideration, or is the DM&E trackage still the preferred route?
The DME isn't really part of the DME or of the preferred route thing. This is just an offshoot, but the thing is that track isn't really used that much. There was a time they were talking about all the coal trains coming, and there were supposed to be 37 trains a day coming on coal. Well, now it's not that, but the oil trains are coming from the other direction, and to me, it would make a natural deal because the infrastructure is basically there.
Paul, are you talking about from Rochester to St. Paul?
No, Rochester, Winona to Rochester.
Oh,
They using the
I only heard
interstate
them.
median?
No, I only heard
at
that from
52.
Rochester to St. Paul, that was their proposal, that they'd go in between the interstate, but that is
No,
not.
that's not.
That's not gonna happen.
No.
That was my question.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't heard, the line is already there, there's no median really on 14.
Right.
George, you have a question?
This is an exciting project, and, we know, hopefully in the future, it could come to fruition, but a lot of people I know take the train because they enjoy the scenery. I think at 110 miles an hour, you probably won't see too much.
Well, then they'd have to put the bar car back on. See? I hear they took that off.
Thank you for your work on this.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, Michelle is your representative on there, and she does a good job. And just a plug for that committee, if you ever get the opportunity, it's the best committee you could ever be on. They have a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
And under new business, item 5.1 is a finance position.
I'd move to approve the request of an addition of a position in the finance department.
Second?
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George. Questions or discussion? none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Item 5.2, amendments to the easements for Automotive Enterprises LLC.
I would move to approve the amendments and the consent and authorize the mayor to sign off.
I'll second it.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.3, angled parking on Main Street.
Well, of course, I move to approve the request.
I second that.
Well, I fully support this. It's like adding another parking lot in downtown Winona in a 3-block area. I would encourage the Main Street folks who are bringing this to us to look at other opportunities for doing this in the downtown area as well. So, George?
And I see all the businesses that are in that area are all in total support of this, so.
Al?
I have more questions, I guess, about this, and I'm sure, as our agenda item says, staff has been working with the folks on there, but a number of issues that come to mind when you take a 2-lane road with parallel parking and you shrink it down to 1 lane with angled parking. Number one for me is how one deals with delivery vehicles or emergency vehicles. There's a number of places along that route from 4th Street to the Front Street area where on a daily basis there are delivery trucks in 1 lane of traffic delivering flowers or delivering food supplies, or in the case of Winhaven Court, there's quite a few emergency runs from our public service folks. That's one of my questions. Another of the question is the issue of restricting these lanes and having cars back out into traffic, into a traffic lane, and the reduced visibility that motorists would have for cyclists who would be traveling along that way. Granted, cyclists have a challenge when car doors are open on the driver's side, but I think this creates a greater challenge for that. And you know, I'd almost like to see a proposal, and I'm going to vote against this because I don't think it's quite fleshed out in my mind, that if this is going to happen, I think what we need to do is look at things like restricting delivery times to the morning hours, to designing a plan where people have to back in, so when they do pull out, they have a greater visibility and it's a safer situation. The research I've done says that, you know, one research says angled parking is more dangerous than parallel parking. Other research says there's no difference, so I'm not going to go there. But I think that in this case, I'm not going to support this simply because there are too many questions that I have. I grant that, yes, we need additional parking, but I don't think at least the plan in front of us answers those questions that I have, and I don't know if other members of council have that as well.
Michelle?
We purposely left the parking in front of McDonald's parallel so that when people were exiting that alleyway, they could have a line of sight. And there are spaces left open for emergency vehicles up by Winhaven. Just as it is now, there's a no parking zone there. It's a loading zone. You can see kind of a white car there. And the same with over by Nola's. She has her delivery van pulls into the alley, but we really recommended to her that she come to council and request that that first stall there be designated as a loading or a 15-minute zone so that when the truck comes, because I don't think you can restrict a delivery to a business that has service to a specific time of day so that she can have opportunity to have deliveries made safely. And in other cities where I've driven, like Red Wing and Rochester, where they have parking like this, it seems to work well. And again, it does answer that need. And I do believe that it will force traffic to slow down by barreling them into 1 lane, which will, I think, improve traffic along that route.
Well,
And of course, I'm in favor of it. I think all of the businesses along there are really very excited about it, and I think they spent the time they needed to make sure with staff that it was going to be something that could be done safely. And it's kind of our experimental area to see if this works here, maybe it could work in other spots, alleviating some of that. The 2,000 workers that come down every day to the downtown could alleviate some of the parking stress that they feel.
I frequently go to the Waters building and Market Street, and there's angled parking there, and I really don't experience any real issues backing up or getting in and out of there. As Michelle pointed out, Red Wing has similar diagonal parking, and, you know, you just have to be extra careful backing up, I guess. And, I don't know, I think the benefits outweigh any negatives in my mind.
Well, just in rebuttal, I think that, you know, the idea of traffic calming is certainly probably not an issue on Main Street as it is in other streets. Market Street, certainly not at all, given the traffic levels there. But I still think that there's a safety issue here, and I'm still opposed to making these changes.
Have your questions been adequately answered? I mean, can somebody from the staff maybe answer them better, or?
I don't think my questions have been answered. Yes, I understand about some areas, but I'd still like to see us look at, if we are gonna have angled parking, it's not gonna be head in, it's gonna be head out.
I don't understand how Al, maybe you know, how would the cars get backed in safely? I guess I don't understand if you're driving this way,
Well-
they back, I don't,
Other cities have it, and they seem to have developed signage that tells people exactly how they need to park, and an ordinance that encourages and then penalizes those that don't. And once that happens, then everybody gets the word and people back in as opposed to driving straight in. But
Are there other comments or questions?
I can just say that for someone who tries to eat down there at noon hour, until a parking situation has changed, it's costing businesses down there money, because I take one pass through it, and if I can't find a place to park, I'm gone somewhere else.
I did have a building owner down in that area talk to me about the need for additional parking, and had a potential tenant that would rent, but it was contingent on additional parking in that area. So I know that this is important in that area to building property owners and the people that want lunch down there too. Well, if there aren't any other questions, we'll vote. George?
Just a comment, now that Paul, that car that Paul drives, that's a smart car. He could park that anywhere, so.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
aye.
Motion carries.
Item 5.4 is the pedestrian safety program.
I have a question. Are they looking for support, or it doesn't say if we're making a motion of support? Okay, I move support of pedestrian safety in form of a program.
I would second that.
Okay, we're all, I'm assuming we're all gonna be in favor of pedestrian safety. Are there any questions?
Mayor,
Al?
just a comment as we've gone through the PowerPoint presentation. One thing I've observed from both cyclists, pedestrians, and drivers are those that choose, in the case of drivers illegally, to listen to their music using headphones. And, you know, any kind of program like this should certainly address distracted pedestrians and drivers and cyclists using headphones, because, as I say, in the case of drivers, it's illegal. I don't know if it is for bicyclists or not, but it probably, I'm not sure what the law is on that, but it's
That's a good
very,
point.
very distracting.
Good point.
I also noted that there's a couple locations, one of which there's a stoplight, and the other is a four-way stop. So if there's problems at those two intersections, then clearly it needs to be a pedestrian education, because the traffic signals are in place at those two locations and or four-way stop. And if someone is getting hit in a four-way stop, they really don't have their mind on what they're doing.
And I'd just like to, if I'm remiss in doing that, I'd like to thank the chamber and their committee for bringing this forward and carrying it out.
Other questions? Comments? George?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good program, and I think the people working on it, it's gonna be worthwhile.
Well, we've certainly had our pedestrian issues in
Yes.
Winona, especially on Broadway, so. All right, well, there's a motion and a second. We'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.5 is an orderly annexation request from the Fabians.
I move to approve that request.
I'll second that.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George. Discussion. George?
I don't know, Judy or Keith, whatever, now, we get so many of these every year, they keep coming, and, we know the basics why they come. Would it be worth our while to somehow look into a program, or an offer to all the homes? Because eventually, they're all gonna be coming. We keep taking one, and then another one comes, and then another one comes, and, would it be worth our while to look at actually just putting together a plan and look at the whole area?
Judy?
Mayor and council, we actually will be meeting with the township to talk about orderly annexation here,
Okay.
probably within the next couple months, and that's something that we can talk to them about. I still think we're going to need the petitions by the individual property owners, but we'll discuss that.
Our orderly annexation agreement, I believe, expires in 2015, so we need to have a conversation.
Okay.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
Well, let's start with Michelle.
I don't.
You don't have any
No,
concerns?
I don't.
Jerry?
Pass.
Al?
Nothing.
Paul?
It is important and desirable that the council receive a written report supporting and providing verification of compliance as we require on transfer operations of bulk commodities, specifically silica sand, moisture levels within city limits. What test equipment is available and utilized by our public works or other departments, such as a simple but rather inexpensive speedy moisture tester to determine the moisture content of bulk materials. The speedy moisture tester, as an example, has been used for testing moisture for over 40 years. Who is responsible to confirm and compile the data collected from the tests we have run or commissioned to have run for our verification of compliance? Before we get into some future likely heated discussions on further air testing, what has been or what is recommended currently to control fugitive dust at transfer ports, not due to the transfer operations, but from unpaved access roads, which simple and long-term reliable solutions such as watering, calcium chloride, polymer, or other suppression methods have been recommended, required, and provided by the city. Has city staff looked at, recommended, or researched dust suppression misting devices? And if not, why not, since the discussion appears to be headed back to the council in the future? Last, as a point of information, does the Port Authority have any responsibility as it relates to daily operations at the port facilities? And it's more of a question going forward, that these are things that we should have. And staff should be prepared to address, because we have put these conditions in approvals. And do we know whether or not they have been complied with?
Okay, thank you. Pam?
Nothing tonight.
George?
Okay, thank you. With all the street reconstruction going on down in the 4th Ward, down in the 1st Ward, 2nd Ward, throughout our town, I have never heard so many positive comments, because they're seeing work done. The streets are starting to shape up. Now, we have a long ways to go, we know that. But like I say, just from the first phase of it here, there's a lot of good, solid feedback, back positivity from east to west, out to the valleys. Everyone is happy. And I think that's gotta, give us kind of a good feeling as well, too, because, we budgeted $1 million. And Judy, are we gonna budget another $1 million? Do you have in your budget coming up for next year?
You'll find that out in August for sure.
Okay. Yeah, stay tuned. So, okay, but anyway, there is a lot of positive feedback on that. And Keith, if you could find out, I don't think it's in this year's plan for resurfacing, but the Front Street, where that lays in our plan, if you just let me know on that. I don't think there's nothing due this year on it, but maybe next year, whatever, just give me an update on that, so. On a happy note, this morning, the mayor and State Senator Miller and myself, we paid a birthday visit to a very young 95-year-old Ray Greenwood. And he was quite surprised by seeing the three of us show up. And we sang happy birthday.
We did sing.
Could you
And,
redo that for us tonight?
No.
I would be very curious to hear.
Well, anyway, you know, we didn't sound too bad, but I think none of us have any intention of quitting our day job. We're still gonna continue to work. You wouldn't wanna hire us to come to a birthday party and sing, but I thought we did okay, so.
I thought we did better than I expected.
It was very good, so. And then just on a sad note, just like to offer condolences to the family of Tom Gibson, to his wife Ann and their children. Tom, who passed away a week ago, he was owner and operator of Whetstone Machine here in Winona, a very good tooling company. In his younger years, he spent time teaching in the Winona Catholic school system, and I believe he said once that Councilman Craig was one of his students years ago. And he was just a good man. He spent many years on the Housing and Redevelopment Authority Board. I served with him. He served as its chairman, and I learned a lot from him. A very, very, very good, smart man, good husband, good father, grandfather, and my condolences to his wife Ann and their children as they move on with their healing process. And also to a co-worker of mine from a few years back, Bill Nee, to his wife Pat and her children. Condolences to them. Bill, for people who know him, he was a long Fourth Ward name as he grew up, attended local high school here. He was noted for softball in his advanced years, which he was still young, as he always called it, advanced years. He spent a lot of time on the golf course, and that was his passion, along with his family. And Bill certainly was an interesting person to talk to. So condolences to their family as they move on with their healing process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Under the consent agenda, there are 6 items. Approval of the minutes from July 7th, the final adoption of an ordinance to rezone the commercial court building at 152 West 3rd, ordinance to establish no parking on Service Drive from Clark's Lane to Gilmore Avenue, ordinance to eliminate a 45-minute parking on Center Street, an ordinance to amend the city code housing to make the temporary rental license a permanent option, and a claim against the city by Ruth Streeter.
Move to approve the consent
Second.
agenda.
Motion by Al, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.